All right, people, thank you for tuning in today. Today we're going to talk about electric cars, cheap ones, used ones, between the 5 and the 15,000 euros. A lot of people that are privileged enough to be able to own a car, they can afford an EV now. So there are a lot of mistakes and a lot of people that doesn't do enough research about electric cars because they tell me they are afraid of the battery replacement, they are afraid to not having enough range, they are afraid they don't want to charge so much. So I'm just going to go through it, what to look for, what to watch out for, and just tell you the truth. I'm driving now 7 years only pure electric cars, and it's a joy, and it's very cheap. Stay tuned. All right, people, first of all, to be clear, I'm talking in these videos as simple as possible so you understand. If you want to have more details, there are other videos for that, but I'm talking so simple as possible in these videos when you buy a car, an electric car, for the first time. Even if you have an electric car for a longer time, I can give you some good tips now, but I'm talking as simple as possible so you can understand as fast as possible, because there are a lot wrong ideas about electric cars. So first of all, you have your budget. Say your budget is between 5 and 10,000 euros. So you're going to go on a search platform on the web and looking for cars. So you put on your budget, you put how many kilometers maximum you want the car to have driven, 100,000 kilometers, for example, from 2014. So when you look at the ads, sometimes they come up like a Smart for 4, 63 kilowatt. That number, the 63 kilowatt, is the power of the car. It's the same, it's another calculation, the same as horsepower. So what you have really to look for is the kilowatt hours capacity of the battery. That tells you the real range. So if you look at the ads and you go between 5 and 10,000 euros, you're going to find Nissan Leaf, Mitsubishi i-MiEVs, e-Golfs, even BMW i3s. Very nice cars, a lot of cars, smart cars, BMW and Mercedes B-Class as well. But there is this little catch here. If you have the budget for a Mercedes-Benz, for example, it's a very nice and comfortable car, but it has some issues with fast charging. It doesn't fast charge at all, only charging at home and in normal plug. So you really have to get into how is the range and how fast you can charge it if you want to go on a trip. So if you take the manufacturer's details on paper about any car, you're going to see that the older electric cars were advertised with NEDC range. NEDC range is a range that was made in the 90s for petrol cars to calculate the CO2 and for the taxes and so on. So that they used as well for electric cars, but it's a too positive number. For example, my i-MiEV has an NEDC range of 150 kilometers. That's impossible to do with that car. So after 2017 they came with a new calculation called the WLTP, and that's pretty correct summertime. So if you buy a car and they tell you this car can do 200 kilometers, you have to look if it's the NEDC they mean or the WLTP, because if you have the NEDC you can just slide off 25% straight to have the proper range, right? So that's very important that you know the range. About the range, if it says this car can do 125 kilometers WLTP, it means in the summertime, best conditions. So no rain, no wind, best conditions. In the winter time, you just slide 30% of the WLTP to have your winter range. So the car can do 125 WLTP in the summer. In the winter, you're going to be able to do 80 or 90 kilometers, not more. So that you have to know as well. So how to calculate which car you need for your daily commute to work and home. You take the range to work, for example 20 kilometers. You do that times 2 because you have to come home, and you times that again with 2 to be comfortable. So if you have 20 kilometers range to your work, times 2 times 2, that's 80 kilometers. So you need a car that is able to do 80 kilometers winter time. So you need a car that can do at least 120, 130 kilometers WLTP to be comfortable. The other thing is the charging possibilities that I'm gonna try to explain as simple as I can. So the car you can charge at home in a normal plug or in a wall box. The normal plug you plug in your car, and the electricity goes from your plug to your onboard charger, and on your onboard charger in the car it's flipping the AC currents with a DC current that goes in your battery, right? So this onboard charger has different capacities. Some cars can only take 3 kilowatt per hour. You have to know what your socket can give you. If you have 16 amps, it can give you 3.6 kilowatt, but the car takes only 3. So my IMF, I just charge on a normal socket, 10 amps, it gives 2.6 kilowatts. So my car, the IMF, is charging in 11 hours, right? If you buy a wall box, you can upgrade it until 22 kilowatt. So if you have a car of 40 kilowatt, like my wife's Renault Zoe, that's a 40 kilowatt hour battery. If it gets 22 kilowatt in, it takes summertime a bit more than 2 hours to charge. But if I plug my IMF in that wall box, that is possible, no problem, with another cable, the car still takes 3. So you have to know how much the onboard charging can take, and that you see in the paper of the manufacturer. It says AC, for example, AC 7 kilowatt, DC 100 kilowatt. So AC is all the charging possibilities you have when you have to bring your own cable with you. So in the parking houses, on the streets, the charger on the streets, the chargers at home, at friends, that's all AC. That you need your own cable to take with you. But here it comes. If you want to go on a longer trip with your car, you need a fast charge. And the fast charge, that's another plug on your car. Sometimes it's the same plug, but it's a different method. And for example, the iMeave and the Kia Soul and the Nissan Leaf, all these cars, they has a CHAdeMO, and the cable is hanging on the machine, on the fast charge. The cable you don't have to bring with you. If you plug that in, it's DC, direct current. That current goes straight to your battery. It doesn't has to interfere with your onboard charger. So what your onboard charger can take doesn't matter anymore, because this electricity goes straight in your battery. 50 kilowatt. So if you have a Nissan Leaf with a 30 kilowatt battery, you put it full in 45 minutes in the summertime, but you never charge from 0 to 100, right? So you probably plug it in when it's 20 and you plug it out when it's 80, and then it's 25 minutes. So then you can go on a long trip. A few cars doesn't have fast charging possibilities. The Mercedes-Benz B-Class doesn't have it. He has an onboard charger of 11 kilowatts. So he can plug in a 22 kilowatt plug that's on the parking houses and sometimes on the side of fast charger. He can plug there, but he still gets 11. And at home, if he has just a normal socket or a wall box, he can get 3.6 up till 22. Depends how much money you use. On those wall boxes at home, you can spend 1,000 euros or 3,000 euros, up to you. We just have a box, 500 euros. The electrician came, installed it, put our safety in the electricity box downstairs, cost us 1,000 euros. Plenty for us, for 2 cars, right? So the smart cars couldn't fast charge either. So you really have to know the speed that it can charge at home, and the speed it can charge when you go on trips. Because I have people buying smart 4.4s very nice little cars, 20,000 euros, brand new, but can't fast charge. So they never go out of town. So the positive thing is about those cars that can't fast charge, the battery longevity keeps better because they're never stressed by fast charging. So a Renault Zoe in Norway, the most Zoe, I mean 99%, they have only a 22 kilowatt charger on board. They can't fast charge, but they can charge quite fast on a normal socket. So we go on trips 500-600 kilometers with Zoe. It's no problem. We just have to charge one time, take a long lunch, 2 hours, see the town and drive further. But the battery is very, very good. The degradation of the battery is minimum. While the Nissan Leaf, even the new ones, Nissan Leaf, they have a mixture in the battery to keep it cool that's not 100% optimal. And in a Nissan Leaf, the degradation of the battery can be quite bigger comparing to other cars. Like my iMeaf lost 5% after 80,000 kilometers, 7 years. And the Zoe of my wife, it's now 5 years, lost 1% capacity. While Nissan Leaf 2015 model can lose 10-15%, right? So that's the criteria you have to look for about the charging. I've made plenty of videos about how you charge a car and all that stuff, right? But on an electric car, not so much can go bad. Now I had my iMeaf, like I said, 80,000 kilometers, and it's only now that I spend money on it. Not because something broken, just because something has to be a replacement. So I changed the disc, the brake disc, and it cost only 400 euros. So how heavier the car, how more you're gonna have a problem with the brakes, problem with the suspension. I had a Tesla Model S, a nice car, but I had to sell it just before the warranty went out because I don't want a car that's cost me a monthly salary when something's breaking down, right? My son just bought a Volkswagen e-up 2015 model, fantastic little car. Nothing happened with those cars. So if you're afraid that the battery has to be replaced, doesn't have to. And if you're happy with to buy a Nissan Leaf with only 80% of the capacity of the battery and it can give you the range you need, it can be a bargain, right? But the only thing you have to look for electric cars is that they had their service done. Nothing much can go wrong. So I said to my children when they buy a car now, I said, if you get a diesel car for free and you drive it for 5 years, it's going to be more expensive than to buy an electric car, to drive that in 5 years and to sell it again. Much more expensive. A lot of people are stressing about the range. A lot of people are buying these expensive electric cars because they need 400 kilometers range. Okay, if you're a seller or if you're a taxi driver, then you need it every day. But if you go on a trip 2 times a year, on a trip of 350 kilometers a year, and you buy a car that can do this, you're going to pay a lot of money. So why not buying a car that can do 200 kilometers for your daily commute that costs half? And those 2 times you drive these 500 kilometers, you just take a coffee. You're going to be the best paid coffee ever. So think about it. If you put yourself in the situation that you want to go on a longer trip with an electric car, you just learn it when you can, not when you have to. So just go to McDonald's, have a burger there and just plug it in the fast charger there, or go to the shop and plug it in there. Just learn how to fast charge. It's super easy, right? But don't buy a car with the longest range of everyone, because you think that the battery is going to degrade and you're going to have half battery capacity left after 5. That's just right. So just think about it, how much money you want to spend on an electric car. And like I said, I had the Tesla Model S before. It was fantastic, but I can do with much less. So now we have a Renault Zoe and a Mitsubishi iMeaf. Super cheap cars to own, and that's all what we need. So the cheapest electric car, the cheapest proper electric car, like Renault Twizy, that's not a car, that's just a toy, right? So the cheapest electric car I find that was the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, the Citroën C0 and the Peugeot Ion. It's all the same car, but the Mitsubishi i-MiEV is a bit better because it has a bit better battery and a few more gears to be able to recuperate more electricity, that you can buy from a good one for 5,000 euros. Don't buy the ones from 3,000 euros because it's a bit dodgy. 2012, but from 2015, 5,000 euros, and they're gonna last long. The Nissan Leaf is a very good car. I had a Nissan Leaf 30 kilowatt hour battery before, a very nice car. Just see about the battery degradation and how well it's maintained, and that you get prices of a good one, you get 6,000-7,000 euros, and then you have to try to have one after 2014 because then a lot of upgrading came. If you want to buy, for example, a BMW i3 for 10,000 euros, that's a bit cheap because the first BMW i3s, they didn't have fast charge. If you buy a Nissan Leaf, I would pay 7,000-8,000 euros. A BMW i3, I would go for 12,000, 13,000 euros. The Hyundai Ioniq, very nice car, one of the cars that use less in consumption, that you can get for 14,000-15,000 euros. So there is plenty of choices, but don't be afraid to buy a car with only 150 kilometers range in the summer, because if that's your commute, that's your daily stuff, that's plenty. So it's up to you how much money you want to spend. You can spend many thousand euros on an electric car, but you don't have to. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, put them down and click the like button so other people can learn something as well. Thank you for today.